גדול אלוהי, שירו כי גדול אלוהי, כל אחד יראה כי גדול ראוי להלל, ליבי ישיר כי גדול אלוהי, שם מעל כל שם, אותך ראוי להלל, כי גדול אלוהי. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God. שירו כי גדול אלוהי, כל אחד יראה כי גדול גדול אלוהי, גדול אלוהי, שירו כי גדול גדול אלוהי.
Y'all can say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So y'all remember about Noah?
Comfort, rest,
Comfort, rest, and his name spelled backwards is
grace.
Grace. It's in Hebrew. It's Noach, means rest, and Chen is grace. Is that pretty common, grace, or is it? What's the other?
Chesed.
Chesed.
Hesed.
And then there's Racham too.
Racham. Had something I was gonna. Let's say that later. Let's begin by saying the blessing. Join me. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us in his commandments, and commanded us to engross ourselves in the words of the Torah. And in Hebrew, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher teshanu v'mitzvotav v'tzavonu le'asok v'divrei Torah. Okay. So, what's the book, the Torah portion, Noah? What's it about?
Hamas.
No kidding.
What'd you say?
Hamas.
Hamas.
The world was covered in Hamas.
I've got something to say about that just in a second. So we're going to talk about the Noah's flood, Noah's flood, the Tower of Babel, and the beginning of the Abrahamic line, right?
Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Yes, the beginning.
Although Ham was the oldest.
Was Ham the oldest?
I think so.
You think Ham was the oldest?
I don't remember really which one was the
I wouldn't doubt it.
wasn't.
I don't know that, does it ever say, or does it just start out giving Ham first?
Well, I think Ham was the first one mentioned after the sin of Noah,
Okay.
the father of Canaan. I think that's after that. It says no more, and it's an indicator of the problem.
Okay. So, Genesis 6, 9 through 22. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. And Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. Notice the screen here? Violence. You have to look at the screen. Oh, you're seeing it over there. He's cheating on me. What's interesting, one of the definitions of Hamas is cruelty and injustice. Now, is that the meaning of the word Hamas in Arabic? They call themselves.
But it's the,
Effort.
Effort.
Effort. Listened to a big blog on it the other day.
What were you going to say?
it's also the greatest attribute according in the to Islam. In Islam, it's the greatest attribute of character.
Okay.
To be unjust is a great attribute. And
All of that they are working,
all that negativity is what they think is highly valuable.
but they proclaim also that they love death more than we love
Yes.
life.
And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence. through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark 300 cubits, its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark and finish it to a cubit above, and set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you, and all of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring into every two of every sort into the ark, and keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind. Two of every sort shall come into you to keep them alive. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up. It shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. So, we know that Noah means comfort, relief, rest. So, why did God choose Noah to build the ark and preserve life?
Because he was righteous.
Because he was righteous. He was a Sadiq. He was blameless in his generation.
Preacher.
Hmm?
Preacher.
A preacher of righteousness.
You can see how many listen to him.
So Noah found grace in God's eyes. Is that the way you put it? Noah found grace in God's eyes. Where is that? Now Noah found grace in God's eyes because he believed the word of the Lord. Noah demonstrated his faith by obeying God's instructions to build an ark for the saving of his family. And so we read that Noah was a righteous man. Noah was blameless in his time and walked with God because he was a sinner saved by grace. He was a man who walked with God by faith. He was declared blameless in his time and was credited with righteousness by grace through faith. So, in Abraham, it says Abraham believed God and it was accounted to him as righteousness. So Noah was the same way, right?
Yeah.
He believed God and it was accredited to him as righteousness. And so he was a preacher of righteousness.
First he believed, then he did the things.
Right. Yeah, he believed and then he did. So his actions, him building the ark and taking 120 years to build the ark, what was he doing for those 120 years while he was building the ark?
Y'all think I'm crazy, but y'all want to get on here.
So, what would be the undertaking of building an ark that's, 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, 45 feet high, 50 feet wide? I mean, that's a huge structure. I think last year I put a picture up of it, and y'all went out and saw it. Was it pretty impressive? Very impressive.
When you take pictures and the people are standing, you look like this little inch
Yeah.
creature.
Well, the closest I've gotten is when I was in Alaska one time, we went down to the Kenai Peninsula, and that's where all the ships dock, and because Anchorage doesn't have a deep port, so you have to go down to Seward. And we got down there, and there was a cruise ship that was docked there, and I wanted to get a picture of it, so we drove up and got to the dock, and it was like standing in front of this wall that you wanted to take a picture of the ship.
Yeah.
We had to go back a long way off to get a picture of it, and I thought, how dumb can you be? But
First time out of Emerald?
No,
Duh.
One Hartsburg way. We're on the trail of getting even now. Now you see, you made me lose my whole train of thought. Okay.
You threw him off of his game now.
Yeah. No, yeah, if I even had a game. So he takes 120 years and he's building this. Can you imagine the construction project?
Yes. I have a degree in shipbuilding.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, and we don't know the technology that Noah had. Right? I mean, we don't know if they had, what kind of technology they had to build. Go ahead.
They had advanced technology.
Yeah.
You think they did?
Oh, absolutely. When they found the rivets, they did, I think Cal Poly did a spectroanalysis of the iron alloy. It wasn't steel, it was an iron alloy. It was alloyed with titanium and aluminum.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I call it no-alloy. And I still haven't got it implemented into today's Navy, but I tried.
You tried? Well, I mean, I've never heard that. I've never heard that they found
Yeah, remains of it.
remains.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it was part of the, who's the guy that found the Dead Sea, the crossing the Red Sea? Ron Wyatt.
Ron White?
It's in his, other things that he did with the Ark.
Okay.
Ark of the Covenant and all that stuff?
No, well, yeah, of the Ark, Noah's Ark, and that research.
I think it was amazing that he was building this humongous ship, boat, or ark, when they didn't even know what rain was.
Well, my opinion is we don't know. I mean, we have the story, but we don't have a lot of the intricate details. Evidently we have some archaeological evidence and so forth. But even today, building a ship of that size out of wood is a pretty big enterprise. I mean, you have to cut all the pieces and
Yeah.
stick it all together.
Forge all the metal that was there.
Right.
But do you
By
think
hand.
that maybe, he had people come in and work for him to help him build the ark, and then, maybe like evangelize them or something, just from, people from the community?
Yeah. Well, that's what I would think. I mean, in Abraham, when he came from Chaldees, and came, he brought 318 men with him. I mean, it wasn't a little group. It wasn't him and his,
Trained man.
yeah. I mean, it was like,
There was probably a few that weren't trained. But
yeah. But what I'm talking about is he had a whole community that came with him. So Noah probably had a community of people there.
Yeah.
And my speculation is that Noah was a prominent man. I mean, he knew how to get things done.
Yeah.
I mean,
Of course, he had a good guidance.
yeah. Well, in the Exodus, when they're going to build the tabernacle, and they call what's the boy's name?
Bezaleel.
Batzalel, and Oholiab, his assistant. But if you go through and it says God imbued him with that he could do metal work and material and gems, and he could do all these things. And then it says, and he could train others to do it. So he had given him all the ability to do these things and to get the work done and train people to do it. So, to me, Noah had to be the Betziel of his day. He's the one that, when he built the ark, he was imbued with the attributes that it took to do that. And so, I mean, y'all all heard the Paul's teaching and so forth about, whom he calls, he equips, and whom he equips, he sends. Okay, so that's Noah, and this is the first beginning of that. I mean, he called him and equipped him, and he got the job done. But what kind of job was it? It was the saving of the world and a new beginning. So we get the new beginning, kind of like Noah was the new beginning of the new earth. So, and that was a traumatic deal, right?
The biggest sobering piece I could think of out of that is I've seen everywhere from 750 million people on the earth to 1.7 billion people on the earth out of that time, and there was 8
Right.
saved.
Yeah, 8
Eight.
saved.
That is a narrow path.
But none of the helpers got to go on the ark,
Right.
except his sons and daughters.
Yeah. Well, it's not. I think they got to choose, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that only his sons helped.
Hmm?
I think that only his sons helped.
You think that only the sons helped?
Yeah, that's why it took so long.
Me too.
You think that?
Yep.
Okay. We don't know that, though. Right?
I know.
I think it took 120 years because God gave them 120 years to repent, and they wouldn't do it in 120 years' time.
Yeah. Well,
They may have even had that.
we
They
want,
may have even had that discussion that Brad Scott talks like.
which is?
Well, I think a cubit's this long, and I think a cubit's this long, and Noah comes in, no, it's like this long. Stop it. Because if I've got a guy measuring this much for this much and then this much, that thing's not going to stand.
Right.
Not getting in.
Well, I mean, that's like everything. I mean, it's like today. I mean, we have the. Does anybody here know what the ISO is?
International Standards Organization.
Yes, the International Standards Organization. And so everything that you do, like in data processing, if you're writing software and you're going to communicate with anybody in the world, you have to follow the ISO, the International Standards Organization. Do you know how you calculate a date, a current date in most applications? They give you the number of seconds from 1970. 1970 is the pivotal year. So most dates in communications, when you receive them, it's 9,672,528 seconds. And so then you just go through and say, divide it by 60, divide it by 60, divide it by 60, you get the number of years, months, and days. So anyway.
Why 1970, just out of curiosity?
I don't know.
Probably the year.
But,
I have a question for that.
Mhm.
In a way, was it the year that they turned the nuclear clock on?
Yeah, that or maybe just the foundation date of this ISO itself.
Right. Well, the other thing is some dates are from year 0. You can get a date from year 0, but they have to tell you that's the one they're using. So,
What is your zero?
the Christ, the year 0. So this century. But there's all kinds of standards for if you go back before the Common Era and after the Common Era, and then if you want to. So what I'm getting at is all society that's going to do anything has to have standards, whether they're measurements or morality. Okay, and so when it says the earth was filled with violence, that means the standards had been broken. And that's the way it is inside. I mean, the first thing that happens in the breakdown of society is people lose. When you lose education, when you lose things, you lose standards, and people, societies fail and go away. Because if you don't have standards, you become corrupt and you die. That's the way life works. Okay. Moving right along. Genesis 7, 1 through 16. Then Yahweh said to Noah, Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of clean animals, the male and his mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and his mate, and 7 pairs of the birds of the heavens also, male and female, to keep their offspring alive on the face of all the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and everything that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground. And Noah did all that Yahweh had commanded him. Now Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came upon the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him went into the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Of the ocean animals, of the clean animals, and of the animals that are not clean, and of the birds, and of every thing that creeps on the earth, 2 and 2, male and female, went into the ark with Noah, as God had commanded Noah. And after 7 days the waters of the flood came upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on the day that all the foundations of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened, and rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, entered the ark, they and every beast according to its kind, and all the livestock according to their kinds, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, every winged creature. They went into the ark with Noah, 2 and 2, of all flesh, in which there was the breath of life. And those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and Yahweh shut him in. So, what's significant about Noah being 600 years old when he entered the ark? The 6 is the number of man, right?
Okay.
And how many days before the flood came did they get into the ark? 7 days. Now, during that 7 days, could anybody else gotten in? They didn't close it up till the last day, right?
Right.
God closed it up.
Yeah, God closed it up, not Noah. So, is that kind of like the 7th day here? On the 7th day, will God shut the door? Nobody else can enter in? I'm asking. Nobody's got me an answer.
You're saying the foolish virgins are not going to be coming in after that day?
Well, I mean, is it after the 7th day? Is it the 8th day that nobody gets to come in? Now, say we're at the beginning of the 7th day. So is that day still open?
So are you implying that they have ample time to make a good decision and join Noah and his family in the ark, and they chose not to do that?
Yes.
That's what I get.
Is that what you think?
That's what I get.
They were too busy having like Oscars and
Yeah, living their
Yeah.
sinful life.
Paul, does it say anywhere that there was that opportunity for choice for anyone else? Because to me, it seems very specific. He chose Noah and his sons and the wives, and that was it.
Well, he does say that Noah was a preacher of righteousness. I mean, he walked with God. I would say that he was known, that he was like Abraham. He was known. You know, it's the same thing happened to Abraham. When he went into the land, we look at it as, I always looked at it as Noah was just this sheep herder that came down with his family. But he wasn't. All the kings around him were scared of him. You know, Abimelech came down and said, I want to make a contract with you that you're not going to mess with us. Because they were scared of him. I mean, they had, Sodom and Gomorrah had been, the war that they had, and Lot was taken off, and somebody comes and tells Abraham, and he says he took his 318 men, chased after the kings, defeated them, and brought Lot back.
Yeah.
Well, some sheep herder doesn't do that. I mean, he was a man that was equipped. God knew who he was dealing with, and he was kind of a man after God's own heart. He's kind of like David. And I think we have to, that's implied that that's the way Noah was. He was a descendant, a direct descendant. Abraham was a direct descendant of Noah. And he had to have that type of attribute. What?
I was thinking that, the rabbis say that he was a prototype Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
He was a deliverer.
Right.
And so after having built this thing for 120 years, after having the great procession, after having provisioned the boat, how many years of crops is that going to take for each of the different critter that's going to come on? And 7 pairs instead of 2 for the clean. So that's even more than we were taught in Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
And then to have the procession of all the animals coming in and putting them away, however long. I bet that didn't take just 7 days. But once that happened, then having the door be open. Here you in contrast to the movie, which my Jewish friend just went ballistic on, and he's not a believer. But the bad guy is trying to get in from the outside as if they weren't given the opportunity. The door is open. The thing with Abraham is that he said he had his tent, he had his sukkah open on all sides.
Right.
And he was always accepting, welcoming guests in, his loving kindness,
Right.
his chesed. That was what his whole motif was.
Right.
And so I think that, like you said, that Noah had the same motif or the same reach out of gathering people in
Right.
for God's kingdom.
Yeah, and that's the point. I mean, what we're looking at here is a prototype of the way God works in the world. I mean, he wanted Noah to welcome people in. He wanted Abraham to welcome people in. And all through the scripture, it's being a light, being some. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just to go along with all of that, how merciful God is to wait for us. So Methuselah's name means at his death that will be sent.
Right.
And he died the year of the flood.
Mm-hmm.
Methuselah is like the oldest recorded human in history.
Right.
So God waited. God seemed to extend his life to give time for people to repent, maybe.
Right.
And traditionally he died 7 days before they closed the door.
Right.
And I think the question that you asked to me seems like a huge predestination teaching thing that I used to deal with all the time. And I think that they close their eyes when they hear, like 2 Peter 3:9, he wishes none should perish, but that all would repent and come to him and have everlasting life. He doesn't. So I can't ever see that he raises somebody up just to kill them to prove a point. He gives them. I believe that Pharaoh had every opportunity to repent. I believe that Esau had every opportunity to repent.
Right.
Just didn't want to do it.
That's right.
Yeah, and I don't know if everybody has, but I've known people that just refuse. They just say, no, I'm not going to, I don't believe that, I'm not going to do it. Now, I don't know that, I can't say that they never will, but, they don't even want to discuss it.
Because there's a guilt factor there. They know it's wrong, but
Yeah.
I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, on the same day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah and his wife, 3 wives, and sons with them, entered the ark. They and every beast according to its kind, all the livestock according to its kind, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth according to its kind, every bird according to its, and every winged creature. They went into the ark with Noah, two and two of all flesh, which was on, that had the breath of life. And those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded them, and he shut them in. To me, that's the end of time. I mean, how do we view, we talk a lot about, are we in the end of days, or is this the beginning, or are we close to the end?
Or are we as in the days of Noah?
Yeah. Is it as in the days of Noah, where people are eating and drinking, giving in marriage, living their lives, and then one day the flood arrives and they're all taken away? Okay. So are we all, is it, that's what it says, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. Is most of the earth, is most of the people on earth eating and drinking and acting as if nothing's wrong?
Definitely. They're definitely living that way now.
Well, and I don't want to say definitely. I want to say that some people are looking. Some people are looking. I mean, it wouldn't say in the New Testament, look up for your salvation draws nigh. Yeah. So it means there's some people have to be looking.
There's always a remnant.
But you'd say that most people aren't looking. And how do we make, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say how do we make. One of my things I always like to say was, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And I think God's looking for the people that want to be part of the solution. And so how do we, as people that think that God's Word, His Torah, is important, how do we become part of the solution rather than part of the problem? I'm going to hit you with this book hard enough that you're going to have to learn it. No, that's not exactly what we need to do. But we do need to, what is it, Wayne Cagle says, that we need to be a light, not a siren.
I think we need to look at it from the aspect of putting Christ back into Christianity.
Yeah.
Well,
because he is the Word in the flesh, and we've drifted away from the Word.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also one of the things that we need to do is we need to explain that where in the greatest commandment, Jesus says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. So we need to say all the commandments were given in love. So in order to live the commandments and show the commandments, we have to do them in love. If you don't do them in love, you're not looking for the love in keeping the commandments. I mean, why would you help in the parable of the Good Samaritan? What was the deal there? He loved his neighbor. You see, which one was the good neighbor? Well, it's the guy that gave the help, right? So, in keeping the commandments, we have to look at what does it mean to keep the commandment. It means if we see someone in need, we help them. If we have the ability, it reminds me.
Even if we hate their gut.
Right. It reminds me of one of the stories of World War II where a guy was captured in the Philippines and he was shipped to Japan, was in slave labor in Japan during World War II. He joined the Navy, was immediately sent to the Philippines. 30 days later, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and invade the Philippines. He's captured and he's sent to Japan. Well, he goes through the the death march and all the stuff, and he's in the hold of a Japanese ship, and they're down there just a mass of men, and him and his friend are trying to take care of each other. And he says his friend takes care of him, or he's taking care of his friend who's sick and all this kind of stuff. And he said, you know, everybody has dysentery, and he said, and they're just, he said, it's just, you can't imagine. And he says, I'm taking care of my friend, and he says, and I'm trying to turn him over, and he messes in his face. And he said, but I took care of him. And he said, then I get sick, and he gets well, and he's taking care of me. And he says, I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. And he said, but he nursed me back to health. And as we pulled into the port, as the ship was docking, and so you could hear the ship stopping, he said, my friend died. He said, I made it. I survived. And he said his help for me in the hold of the ship in the darkness, he said his kindness and his love for me is what made me survive. What helped him survive. I mean, can you think of that? I mean, what some of those people lived through. It's just amazing. But I think that's what, you know, God is saying to us. Forget about your prejudices. Forget about what's happened to you, and look at what you can do to save someone, even if it's just one. You know, and I don't know. I've hear people say, "Well, I've talked to this person. I've led them to Christ." Well, I don't know. I'm not saying that that's not important. I'm saying what your actions do is more important than what you've told them. And, you know, I think that's what we need to work on, is what we do, not what we say. I mean, because if it doesn't, what you do doesn't line up with what you say, what you say doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't the book say that the Spirit has to call you and you have to answer the call?
Well, I think we all get called. Some of us run away from it. Others don't. But I mean, and I don't know, I can't speak for other people. I know in my own life, there's always been something inside of me that says, you know, you have to do more than you're doing today. And that's tough. Okay, gotta get the number 3. Genesis 7:17 to 18:14. The flood continued 40 days on the earth. The waters increased and bore up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed so mightily on the earth that all high mountains under the whole heaven world were covered. The waters prevailed above the mountains, covering them 15 cubits deep. And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds, livestock, beasts, all swarming creatures that swarm on the earth, and all mankind. Everything on the dry land, in whose nostrils was the breath of life, died. He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens. They were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those who were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. But God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind blow over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The rain from the heavens was restrained, and the waters receded from the earth continually. At the end of 150 days, the waters had abated. And in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters continued to abate until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and sent forth a raven. It went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Then he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to set her foot, and she returned to him in the ark, for the waters were still on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her and brought her into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So no one knew that the waters had subsided from the earth. Then he waited another 7 days, and sent forth the dove, and she did not return to him any more. In the 601st year, in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. In the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth had dried out. How long did it rain? 40 days, 40 nights?
40 days, 40 nights.
What's the significance of the 40 days, 40 nights? So, what does 4 signify? Totality, associated with creation. 4 occurs frequently in the book of Revelation. There are 4 living creatures around the throne, representing all of creation. Before the throne, there were at least a sea of glass like crystal around the throne. On each side of the throne are 4 living creatures full of eyes, front and behind. And the 4 living creatures, each of them had 6 wings, full of eyes all around within a day and night were never to cease. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. So, what's the significance of 4? 40 days of trial, totality, finishing, right?
I heard once that 4 also represents war. When Esau came after Jacob, he had 400 men, which represents war, military.
Mm-hmm. What did Jacob do?
Divided.
He divided into 3 camps,
Yeah.
which, so.
Might get some of them, but you ain't getting all of them.
Right. Well, Jacob was afraid of Esau, right? And he came with 400 men, but he had divided into 3 camps. And what did Esau see when he got there? He said, "What is this great multitude with you?" Esau was scared too. I mean, he came to kill, but he didn't.
Esau, yes.
But it says that when he hugged his neck, he bit his neck?
Actually, it did.
Yeah. So, I think it was a standoff myself. So, one other thing here.
Well, Dad was gone, so he probably intended to do what he said.
Right. Well, yeah, Dad wasn't dead yet.
No, not
No.
yet.
Okay, so humanity is divided into 4-fold divisions, representing the entire creation. Every tribe, language, people, and nation. 4s are used to emphasize that the entire creation is engaged in praise. I heard every creature in heaven, on earth, under the earth, and in the sea singing. So all of creation. The creation acclaimed to God and the Lamb is 4-fold. Blessing and honor, glory and might. There are 4 corners of the earth, north, south, east, and west. The New Jerusalem has 4 sides because it is the new earth. The earth was totally covered with water. That means all the 4 corners of the earth. All nations point to the compass of all life except what God had preserved. So the totality of the world is held by God. And he says, I'll clean it up and I'll make it new. And so he cleaned it up and made it new. And now what's he doing? Well, when you do the harvest and you've got all the grain, what's mixed in with the grain? Chaff and stuff. So what do you have to do? You have to sift it out. And so I think the end times where it says I will separate the tares from the wheat is a sifting process. And And I never saw it before, but I see it very plain now, and I mentioned it before, but I think that's what's going on. I think that God is making it where if you are a righteous person, as like Noah was, that you will know who they are. And by their fruits. And so I think it's important that we talk about it so that we can know what to look for. What do we look for? I mean,
We look for the fruits.
well, Alvin alluded to it today when he said the wicked people, the ones without Torah. In other words, do what? Torahless people. You know, when the end comes, who was it? What's the guy's name we were looking at this morning? El Shaddai Ministries. Mark Biltz
Oh, yeah.
was talking about the two witnesses, Elijah and Moses, the Torah and the prophets. He said, you know, those are the two witnesses. They're going to be teaching the Torah and the prophets. And the church who thinks the Torah and the prophets have been done away with are the ones that want to kill them.
Right.
Because they say, you know, you're preaching stuff that we don't have to do. Well, we're looking for the Torah and the prophets. We're looking for the completion and the restoration of all things. But if you're not looking for the Torah and the prophets and the restoration of all things, you're not going to see who's coming. Because what Jesus said, don't believe that I came to do away with the Torah and the prophets.
Yeah.
I came that all should be fulfilled, and not one jot or tittle from those will pass away.
Yeah.
So we have to be looking for the fulfillment of the Torah and the prophets. And if we're not looking for it, we're not going to see it. So when Elijah and Moses show up, are the two witnesses, should we be looking for the Torah to be reestablished as the law of the land?
Right.
I would say yes.
Yes.
And when people are dying at their speech.
So what bird did Noah send out first?
Raven.
The raven. What's the raven represent? It flew out and went back and forth, right?
Too smart for its own good.
Too smart for its own good. I never thought of it that way, but ravens are pretty smart birds. I don't know if y'all have ever seen any videos on ravens, but they can use tools and all kinds of stuff. So what did he?
Was looking for dead flesh to eat, so
Yeah.
he didn't come back.
That's right. So
I had plenty of dead flesh to eat.
what did Noah send out next?
Yonah.
Hmm?
Yonah.
Hmm?
He sent out Yonah.
Yes, he
A
sent out the dove.
Yonah.
Yeah, Jonah means dove in Hebrew. How many times did he send Jonah out?
3.
3 times. And the last time, what happened?
Came back with an olive.
No. Well, the last time he didn't come back.
Last time didn't come back.
Okay, we sent him out once, and he came back with an olive branch, and then the third time he did not return. The dove didn't return. So, how? Why is it a dove?
Represents peace.
Where do we see the dove in the New Testament?
Peace.
Represents the Spirit.
The Spirit. So when John the Baptist is baptizing Jesus, he saw the dove. He saw the Spirit come down and rest on him.
Right.
So would you say that the Spirit was returning to man? That we were receiving God's Spirit? That it was a spiritual thing? That we have to look at it 3 times? Completion, God's Spirit, the new beginning. So once the Spirit returns, the doors can be open and we can get out of the ark, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Does it say who opened the door to the ark? at the end?
I don't know that it says it.
I don't remember it saying it either.
I'm supposing that, they had a latch and they said, push this button here and it turns the motor and it slides the door. I don't know.
That advanced technology.
Yeah. So, now I asked this last year, I'm gonna ask again. What are the so-called 7 Noahide laws? Y'all remember? You don't know the Noahide laws? You bunch of pagans. Not to commit adultery, not to eat blood, not to murder, not to blaspheme, not to commit incest, not to steal, and then one positive law. There was to establish courts of law. So, how can you establish courts of law if you don't have law?
It was handed down.
Well, I think God's law has been from the beginning, and His law is for everyone. And I think that men were corrupt. You know, I was taught in history in school that the Code of Hammurabi was the first coded law. Hammurabi. Y'all don't know Hammurabi? What kind of history class did y'all take?
He's the leader of the Aborigines?
No.
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 Don't think so.
I remember the term, but I don't remember.
Okay, Hammurabi was the guy that had the elephants that
Elephants.
crossed the mountains in Congo.
Okay.
And he had the Code of Hammurabi, which was real similar to the 10 Commandments. It's different. It was similar. And in history they say this is the first guy that had a law, which is a lie.
Right.
I mean, God's commandments are the first. And they pre-existed everything.
In the beginning, God created all of God.
All of God,
Might have
from
been.
A to Z.
Might have been right there.
Well, Genesis 8:15, 9, number 4. Then God said to Noah, go out from the ark, you and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, his sons, his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, every bird, everything that moves on the earth went out by families from the ark, including Kelsey and Duncan. Then Noah built an altar to Yahweh and took some of every clean animal and some of every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And when Yahweh smelled the pleasing aroma, Yahweh said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever again strike down every living creature as I have done, while the earth remains. Seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground, and of all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. For your lifeblood I will require a reckoning. From every beast I will require it, and from man, from his fellow man I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of a man, by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his own image. And you be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth and multiply in it. So, after Noah and his family left the ark, God blessed them and gave them the commandments. What was it, and how often did he give it?
Be fruitful and multiply.
How many times did he tell them?
3.
3 times. So, what's important about being fruitful and multiplying?
Well, it's the basic commandment at the Garden of Eden.
Mhm.
I mean,
If
it's-
there's no fruitful multiplication, there is no harvest.
That's right. And how long has it taken to get the earth filled up,
5,000 years, give or take.
give or take? Yeah. And I just saw this the other day. It's a little graph of the population of the earth, and it goes like this. And it hits the 19th century, and it starts going up, and it hits the 20th century, and it's almost perpendicular. So the
Vertical.
population of the, vertical. The population has been pretty constant. It's gone up over the centuries, but it's been constant. But in the last 200 years, it has exponentially shot up till the
And-
earth is full.
And in the beginning, it said, "Go forth, multiply, and subdue the earth."
Uh-huh.
And I submit to you that we've subdued the earth so much that we're trying now to unsubdue it.
And that's true. You know, people are saying we're destroying the earth.
Yeah, we got too many people, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too many people.
Some of these policies are,
Had
Is
somebody
this
tell me this past
intentional?
week that God told us not to get married.
yeah.
Like,
Which God?
I
Yeah.
Did you
I
ask?
have a reply to that, but in the interest of not starting a fight, I'll tell you in a bit.
But
Okay.
in verse 3 there, it says, every living thing that lives shall be food for you. That has been used so many times that we can eat anything we want, rattlesnakes, elephants, and pork.
Well, they can eat anything they want to there with free will, but not without breaking the commandment of God.
I'm going to read Genesis 9:18, 8-17. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, and every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you. As many as came out of the ark is for every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, and that shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember an everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. So, the sign of the covenant with all the creatures was the rainbow, right?
Right.
So, why is it important? And why wasn't there a rainbow before?
Because it
Wasn't
wasn't
any
just
rain.
such a time as this.
Well, if there hadn't been rain before and the flood from the depths or the heavens, then there would be a rainbow. But before they hadn't had rain,
Yeah.
so there wouldn't be a need for a rainbow.
So we're pretty sure it never rained before the flood.
No, I think it did. I don't, because you can get a rainbow in mist.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it rained. Not like what it's talking about.
No, I know not like then, but
That would have been a mist bow.
right.
A mist bow.
But I don't think it necessarily says rainbow. It says bow. And the word here, bow, is more like the bow of a bow and arrow.
Bow
It's
and
not. It is not what we have taken and made rainbow.
Right.
And then the other thing is it's pointing away from the earth because the covenant is with the earth.
Right.
Which I'm kind of curious if that covenant with the earth right there isn't how that the earth knows to open up when the enemy tries to send water after those who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Yeshua in the end.
That could be. I never thought of that. Okay, moving right along. Genesis 9:18 through 10:32. The sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of the whole earth were dispersed. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem, Ham, and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah woke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be Yahweh, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavin, Tubal, Meshech, and Teres. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarmah. The sons of Yathan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodam. From these the coastland peoples spread in their lands, each with his own language, by their clans in their nations. The sons of Ham, Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabtah, Raamah, and Sabteka. The sons of Raamah, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Yahweh. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. From that land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Ir, Calah, and Racin, between Nineveh and Calah, that is the great city. Egypt fathered Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrushim, Calushim, from whom the Philistines came, and Caphtorim. Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, and Het, and the Jebusites, the Ammonites, and the Gershishites, the Hivites, the Arkites, and the Sinites, the Arabites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Afterward the clans of the Canaanites dispersed, and the territory of the Canaanites extended from Sidon in the direction of Gerar as far as Gaza, and in the direction of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, as far as Lashah. These are the sons of Ham, by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. To Shem also the father of all the children of Eber, the Eber brother of Japheth's children, were born. The sons of Shem, Elam, Asher, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram, Uz, Hol, Ether, and Mash. Arpachshad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan fathered Almodad, Sheleph, Hazmar, Vapheth, Yerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abiel, Abimiel, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. The territory in which they lived extended from Mesha in the direction of Shephar to the hill country of the east. These are the sons of Shem, by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. These are the clans of the sons of Noah, according to their genealogies, in their nations, and from these the nations spread abroad on the earth after the flood. So after the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Ham had 4. Y'all know the name of the 4 sons of Ham? Cush, Mitzrayim. What does Mitzrayim mean?
Egypt.
Egypt.
Put, is Libya, and Canaan is Phoenicia. So, what was Noah's nakedness that Ham saw?
His
He
wife.
went into his mother.
His
His
mother.
wife.
Noah's wife.
Noah's wife.
Noah's wife.
Yeah.
Was Noah's wife the three sons' mother? Or do we know that for sure?
I think so.
I think so too.
I think the last part of that just revealed their ages too,
Yes.
because the genealogies are mentioned in order of Ham, Shem, and then Japheth. It says his elder brother was.
Ham was the youngest.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think Ham was the oldest.
It says in there that he's
said
the
earlier,
youngest.
it said Ham was the youngest.
Yeah, it says he's youngest.
Did it?
Yeah, it says, yeah.
Verse,
Can be
I
back.
can't remember what verse.
Yeah, in Leviticus 18:14 it
Where'd I miss
says,
that?
"You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother. You shall not approach his wife. She is your aunt." And Leviticus 20:11, "If a man lies with his father's wife, he has uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death, for the blood is upon them."
Both of them.
If a man lies with his uncle's wife, he has uncovered his uncle's nakedness.
Yeah.
They shall bear their sin, they shall be childless. And if a man takes his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing. He has uncovered his brother's nakedness, he shall be childless. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Now that's pretty bold if you tell your brothers about what you just did. So, who was Nimrod?
Son of Cush.
Son of Cush, grandson of Noah, who became a mighty warrior on the earth. And I don't know if it was Brad or Bill Cloud, but he said that it says became a mighty warrior in the face of God, not
Bill Cloud and the whole Rise of Esau thing.
Yeah.
yeah, the rise of Esau. So, what does that intimate about Nimrod?
Evil.
Yeah, youngest son was Ham.
He was a conqueror of people.
Yeah, he was a warrior. We got to get on to number 7. Genesis 11:1 through 32. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And Yahweh said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they purpose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech." So Yahweh, dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there Yahweh confused their language of all the earth. And from there Yahweh dispersed them over the face of the earth, of all the earth. These are the generations of Shem. When Shem was 100 years old, he fathered Arpachshad, 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he fathered Arpachshad 500 years and had other sons and daughters. And Arpachshad had lived 35 years, he fathered Shelah. And Arpachshad lived after he fathered Shelah 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he fathered Eber. And Shelah lived after he fathered Eber 403 years and had other sons and daughters. And when Eber had lived 34 years, he fathered Peleg. And Eber lived after he fathered Peleg 430 years and had other sons and daughters. And when Peleg had lived 30 years, he fathered Reu. And Peleg lived after he fathered Reu 209 years and other sons and daughters. And when Reu had lived 32 years, he fathered Serug. And Reu lived after he fathered Serug 207 years and had other sons and daughters. And Serug had lived 30 years, he fathered Nahor. And Serug lived after he fathered Nahor, had lived Nahor lived 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor lived 29 years, he fathered Terah. And Nahor lived after he fathered Terah 119 years and had other sons and daughters. When Terah had lived 70 years, he fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran fathered Lot. Haran died in the presence of his father Terah in the land of his kindred in Ur of the Chaldeans. And Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Ishka. Now Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his grandson, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So, the years after the flood, the people of the earth built a tower. Why did they do it? What's building the tower all about? Where they said they were going to make a name for themselves, that we will not be dispersed out of the earth and die. So, what were they scared of? Think they were scared of having another flood, maybe?
No,
You don't think so?
no. I don't think they were scared of anything.
You don't think they were scared of anything?
I think they were in complete rebellion.
I was gonna say rebellion.
You think that was just rebellion?
That's what I think, that for his name being called in the face of God.
Okay.
Nimrod, he lived his life in the face of God.
But they were supposed to spread across the world, the earth, and populate the earth, but yet they rebelled and weren't gonna.
Build cities.
So, for that rebellion, what did God do?
Disperse them.
He confused their language and dispersed them, right?
Yeah.
So,
Paul, I'm assuming the chronology is kind of out of whack because it states, first of all, each of the sons and their offsprings and each had their own language.
mm-hmm.
So Babel evidently happened before all of this. I mean, if they had one language, then all of these descendants at one point in time did speak the same language.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think it's what you said is, it's a, what do you call it? A retrospective. In other words, he's going through and telling this, and he goes back and puts it, they all did this, and then they were dispersed afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't say plainly, and I don't know why. I mean, to me it's not written where it looks like they had different languages, but they didn't have different languages, so this happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that. And it could be they had the same language. It's kind of like Spanish and Portuguese.
Romance languages.
Yeah, the Romance languages, things like that. But I don't know. I'm just supposing. But anyway, the bottom line is that man has always been in rebellion, and they were still in rebellion. And God said, no, they have one language. They can accomplish anything. I'm gonna. My will be done, not theirs. So he destroyed their tower, got rid of that, and dispersed them. So who was Terah, and who were his sons?
And they,
Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. And who was Lot?
Aaron's son, nephew.
Yeah. Haran's orphan son, right?
Right.
righteous Lot.
Right. Why is Noah not as highly esteemed as Abraham in Jewish tradition? Y'all remember the...
Was it because he was drunk? They drink too.
Well, the rabbis point out that God told both of them that he was going to destroy people. Abraham interceded on behalf of others, but Noah didn't. In other words, when when God told Noah, I'm gonna destroy the earth,
Yeah.
Noah didn't say, are you gonna destroy everybody? If, he
Yeah.
didn't. But Abraham said, are you gonna, if there's 50, are you gonna destroy it? No, I won't do it for 50. You're gonna do it for 40, and he goes down, and he stops at 10.
Right.
He says 10, and then they went their ways. But when he destroyed the earth, how many were preserved? Less than 10. 8. So evidently there wasn't anybody worth saving. You ever think about that?
Right.
How many were preserved after Sodom and Gomorrah? I mean, Lot ran off, but then he was taken afterwards. But was he the only one that was saved? His only family? Him and his wife and his 2 daughters?
3, because one of them looked back.
Yeah. Wife took back.
It's also interesting that before the flood, what was his average lifespan? After the flood,
Yeah, their lifespans were shorter.
start shortening.
Yeah.
Well, it says he's cut them to 120 at the most.
Yeah, 120 was
Yeah.
was supposed to be the cutoff. But Abraham lived 175,
Yeah.
but Jacob was only 100.
Yeah.
No, he was 131. Lived 17 more years. Was 148.
Yeah.
I think it's 148 years.
Yeah.
So he was. When he went to Pharaoh and they asked him how old he was, he says, I'm 131 years, but
Yeah.
hadn't lived nearly as long as my fathers did.
Yeah.
So
And Joseph didn't really live long.
Yeah,
Joseph was 110, but was it Levi lived 137. I think he was the longest lived was Levi. So, but they're the only ones that are mentioned. We don't know how old a lot of them. Does it make any difference? Well, it makes one difference is that we wouldn't know the age of the pre-flood if we didn't have all those, he lived to this age and fathered him. He lived to this age and fathered him, and it gives the how many years, and so you can take that, and it gets almost right at 2,000 years before the flood. And if you take the ages from there forward, we know it's about 1,000 years to David, and from David to Christ, it's about 1,000 more years. So we know that they're 1,000-year periods. But if he hadn't given those specific ages for those specific people, we wouldn't know.
Right.
We would still be speculating and saying, well, maybe it could be this, could be that. I mean, and really, the demarcation of history is the birth of Christ. I mean,
Right.
even though it's not the correct year, they think that his actual birth was 3 years before.
Right.
0.
I don't know if anybody knows that. It's off. That's the idea. But what difference does that make?
Like the details of the.
Well, knowing
Exactly.
not knowing exactly. In other words, God says, no one knows the day and hour, but you know the season. So when you see the season, you know it's coming. He says, just like if you see the rain clouds, you know it's going to rain. You may not know the hour it's going to rain, but you know it's coming. So we should know it's coming. We may not know the day, but I think we do know the day.
We may not know which year.
We may not know which year, but when the years come and these things are happening, we know that we're supposed to look up because it's happening.
Drawing nigh.
It's drawing nigh. So I think it's important that we endeavor to know. Not that we will know, but we need to endeavor to know. We need to be looking.
Endeavor to persevere.
To persevere.
Do you think the definition of years in Genesis is lunar years, like, God's years, or do we think there are some, redefined period of a year like happened subsequently.
No, I think that in the beginning, in Genesis, that God defined all the terms, and a day was a 24-hour day, and everything was defined like it should be, and that only after, if you don't have a day, if you don't have terms that are solid, if you don't know what an inch is, or a foot is, or a cubit is, those all have to be defined. But once you have a definition of words, then you can start using them as an analogy. In other words, back in the day, or in the day of, or you can use them in different respects. Like the day of the Lord is 1,000 years.
You wouldn't understand the dove came down like a Holy Spirit unless you first defined what a dove is.
Yeah, you have to have solid definitions before you can allude to it as something that it's
Before you can make an
represents.
Well, I
analogy.
agree there's a definition of a day, but I'm just asking, is there a definition of a year?
But
Yeah.
It changed after the flood.
Changed after the flood.
Before the flood, the axis wasn't off. Well, seriously, the axis wasn't off. It was a 360-day year. The full moon was the 15th of every month. It was a 30-month. Every month was 30 days. And the calendar that they found in Qumran would have been perfect with the one word in Hebrew that defines for the solstice and the equinox. There is a Hebrew word that is, I'm not sure if it's a change of season word, which is not the fall, not the spring, not the summer or the winter, but the day before, or the day that it is the change. And so that would set if my birthday was October 20th in 1962 was a Thursday, that every year my birthday in October on the 20th would be on a Thursday. And it would set the whole calendar in perfect synchronization.
But it wouldn't be 4 weeks in a month if you have a 30-day month. Does that matter?
I don't think so. But then,
yeah, I mean, you could.
Whole nother topic, then.
yes,
Not an easy one. Okay, I just thought I'd muddy the water.
Yeah. We'll try to
Good job.
We'll try to wash ourselves off and get on down. Well,
It has to be a solar lunar calendar for it to ever work out, because you have your markers that have to be consistent. That's the solstice, the winter and summer equinox. So those four have to balance for it to keep the seasons in the seasons. Those have to work. So it has to be solar. And there's a whole bunch of things that are really interesting and intriguing about that.
Right.
The calendar issue is becoming a new question, big question.
Okay.
well, the thing about it is the sun, moon, and stars were made so we could track days, weeks, months, and years. And before man learned what the orbits were and how the mathematics it took to calculate everything, we kind of now have a corrupt system, and you can't keep time hardly without a watch. I mean, you don't know when midnight is. Where in God's calendar, every time it starts getting dark, it's a new day. And so, you know when everything's happening. And you can watch the moon, but it's like Alvin says, in the season, you know that if you put a stick in the ground and it's, straight up, it's noon, you can define that stuff. And you know when spring is because things start getting green. And, it's a way to do it without having to have a mechanical device predict it for you.
Something that I didn't know until just recently was reading Dead Sea Scrolls and some of that the reason that the tabernacle and the temple always opened with big doors toward the east was because of the strategic placement of the menorah with 7 branches, so that when there's only one shadow, it's the equinox. And the measurement was marked on the veil.
It's marked on the what?
On the veil.
On the veil.
So the
Yeah.
shadow
Yeah.
would line up with that,
Right.
would make it the equinox.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
that's interesting.
never thought of that before.
No.
Yeah. Well, and that's the way, you know, like, there's all these different places around the world where they built them where all they face east. And so when the equinox occurs, it's all in alignment. So that way, all those temples and stuff were arranged so that they could worship on a specific day.
Yeah.
Same type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, we can do,
Calvin.
yeah, I performed a scientific experiment today. That's what we're doing. You know how maps always show north up and south down? I wanted to see if that was true or not. What did you find out? Not much. Your compass didn't survive the trip south from the top of the tree. My compass! Let me know when you get a new one. My junior science book says not to get discouraged by temporary setbacks. Kind of fits in with your day question here. Are we going to put this to the test? Thanks for the lead-in.
I saw somebody recently teach on the mixing of the language.
Uh-huh.
And if you take in Hebrew the serpent, the chas,
Uh-huh.
right? Like noon, het, and then sheen, right? Phonetically, if you rearrange those letters and put sheen, noon, het, snake.
Snake. I heard that sometime.
You're mixing the letters, you turn it into a snake.
Same word, mixed letters.
Okay, next week is Lech Lecha. What is Lech Lecha for?
Go walk yourself.
Hmm?
Go walk yourself.
Yeah, it says go for yourself. It means,
Go forth.
yeah, go forth for yourself. And I don't know who it was. I would just, I don't guess it matters. But anyway, the Hebrew means go so that you can be changed. Go for yourself. In other words, God was telling Abraham, if you don't leave here, I can't change you into the person I want you to be. Is that right?
What he uses that phrase is common throughout Scripture.
Right. Lech
For
Lecha.
many individuals,
Yeah.
and they all have their own story.
Right.
I'm thinking about the Hebrew up there. For both of them to be the same for Lech Lecha.
Lech Lecha.
I don't remember.
You're not remembering? I just copy and pasted that.
Is it missing a hay?
Could be missing a hay.
A different nakud over there that you don't see.
A nakud?
Nakud.
Okay. Join me in saying the blessing. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gave to us the Torah of truth, Yeshua our Messiah, and light everlasting, set in our midst. Blessed are you, Lord, giver of the Torah. And in Hebrew, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu toret emet, Yeshua Meshachenu, bechayi olam, natah betukenu, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ha-Torah. Great peace of those who love your law, nothing can make them stumble.
Way of the wicked is like deep darkness, they do not know what makes them stumble.
My main man back there.
Thank you. Who did we say?